Hello and aloha everybody. My name is Abbas Temuri. I'm a Baha'i, an elder of God. In my new series of talk, I've taken the topic to speak about part of the Baha'i Faith which deals with the beginning of it, the revelation of the Bab, the forerunner of Baha'u'llah. And I've got some measures of going to the past to get to the bottom of the matter, because it has been a murky subject for a lot of people. So far we spoke generally a general idea of the religion in the Middle East. Then I spoke to you a little bit about the prophecies, of Christianity, about the Islam. Tonight I'm going to give you a glimpse, very little bit, on the Islam, and touch some subject that it's still murky for the Muslims and even the Baha'is, and even the writing of the Baha'i Faith might be misleading about this topic. And that deals with the successorship in Islam and what was the problem that has not been understood, that caused the Islam to be divided into two major sects of the Shiites and Sunnis. I've taken my note for myself. The one point I want to make is that those who are familiar with the religion in the light of Jesus Christ, Christianity, or for that matter even the Buddhism or Hinduism, when they deal with Islam and they read the history of Islam, especially those of the Muhammad, that in the first outlook does not look like a religion, because it's a new movement, it's a new evolution in the religion of God. Here we're not seeing Prophet of God as a somehow elusive and short-lived, like Jesus Christ, who didn't speak a lot. All the Bible is a little bit of his talks, and his character is highly spiritual and basically oppressed, transgressed by the people, even one of his followers, and he died very innocently. Islam is, on the other hand, is a very conglomerated religion with so many holy figures, and it looks like a social reform, because the Prophet of God in Islam is not just a revealer of the Word of God, he's also a politician. He has to deal with it. He's also basically a conqueror, you might say. He was the general of the army. He was, in a way, the king of Arabia. Why is it so far that we can see these elaborations of the revolution, of the evolution of the religion in Islam? It's mainly because of the people of the Arabia. But the context and contrast, I should say, to the Roman people, Arabians were seriously Bedouin people, leftover people in the world. They were far behind any civilization. Iranians, Persians, Hindus, Chinese, Romans, they all formed great empires, and they were, except nothing happened in Arabia. These people were so far behind. They were so ashamed of a baby girl that when was born, the mother had to escape to somewhere to make sure that the baby is not a girl, because often she would be killed along with the baby, or the baby. So the mother, as soon as the baby comes, they would bury the baby alive. This was done among certain tribes, not everywhere in Arabia, but certain people. So these are not the people that you tell them that, okay, you hit me and I take my chick and you'll hit me on the other side. They would think you're crazy, and the next blow would not be a slap on your face, and the next time they draw their sword and actually hit you, kill you. And Muhammad saw this. This is not the society of Rome, where Jesus comes, his message is rather civilized. And it does not do anything with the social reform. He doesn't bring all those rules and laws. To him, to Jesus, everything was there already. What was lacking, it was the spirit and the spirituality. You see? It's like this society here. When you deal with Baha'i Faith, sure, there is a lot of great things, but look, in Canada, these teachings are very much familiar with people. People in Canada and United States, even most part of the Europe, they already know the equality of man and women. They already know compulsory education. They're already gone out of prejudices. They've taken initiative. So the principle, the social principles of Baha'i Faith is almost established in the West. It does not have the spirituality of it. It's like a dead body. But it's still the body, but it doesn't have the spirit. So people are suffering from a spiritual problem. But in Iran, however, even right now, they still do not understand equality between men and women. Mainly that's why they're fighting the Baha'is. They don't like Baha'i Faith for the reason that Baha'is, they say men and women are equal. They say we don't want it. We're enjoying beating our women and ruling over them. In Iran, Saudi Arabia, all the Muslim countries. The second thing they don't like it at all is that a priest, a spiritual institution has to be democracy and has to be chosen by people. They don't like that at all. Mullahs are totally against that. But in the West, we don't have this kind of problem. So we're dealing with a different aspect of faith, aspect of society. So Muhammad had to take different steps. If you really get deep inside the Islam, as I told you once before, Islam has two phases. The first phase, which is the story of Muhammad that I'm going to be telling you tonight, is very much similar to that of the Moses and how he took on Pharaoh and emancipated all the Jews and got them out in 30 years, took them all the way and started a new country, a new society. This is what Muhammad did. But as I spoke to you before, the spirit in the Judaism was that of the Jesus Christ. When it came in, the Old Testament really revived. It became universalized. That's what Jesus did. These things didn't happen in Islam, but Muhammad began a society that had to be done long time ago. This was the first phase that Prophet Muhammad did and made a society, a state, a government, laws. And so he looks like a general, like a conqueror, like a reformer. But the spiritual part of it comes with Imam Hussein, his grandson. Sometimes in the Baha'i Faith, you hear places that Baha'u'llah refers to Imam Hussein as a prophet of God as well. So in Islam, Hussein is that a spiritual phase like Jesus Christ had. Because when Hussein, his grandson, martyred, it universalized Islam. Islam was taken to the heart of the Iranians. Before that, they were conquered and they were under the dictatorship of these Bedouin Arabs, but not after they saw what happened to Hussein. Okay, let's go back to Islam. I've written from my notes. In Christianity we have the story of the three Magi's, that they came, and Magi means the original language called Majus. Iranian they call it Mag or Mag. It is really means a priest, a high priest, and a spiritual figure, a clergy. And that they came from the religion of Zoroastrians. And they were the Persian, they came from the East and recognized Jesus Christ. Something like that happened in Islam too. Believe it or not, it was from the same religion of Zoroastrians. And this is a good reason why Zoroastrians' religion, we don't have the book all of it right now, must have been from God, a revelation from God. Because this time a man called Ruzbe from Iran, who was an aristocrat, but good deep into the faith, he saw many fulfillment in Iran, that he was told that those things, once it happens, then definitely he has to go. This prophet is appearing in Arabia. So somewhere from Iran, thousands of kilometers. I don't know how he did it. Those Arab deserts are really seriously hard. But he traveled all the way to come to Arabia and find Muhammad. And Muhammad called him Salman, a derivative of the word of Muslims, Muslim, Salman, Solomon. Salman, Ruzbeh changed into Salman, and he became one of the great companion of Muhammad, the Prophet of God. So he had these prophecies fulfilling from Iran all the way he went to Arabia to saw Muhammad. Who is Muhammad? Muhammad, the dates I've written for myself, so now sometimes about 570 years after Jesus Christ, in the Christian era, a child was born. Child was born. His name was Muhammad. Very amazing to have this name for him, Muhammad. Muhammad is the name of God. There's a difference between Muhammad and Muhammad. Muhammad means the person who does perform the hamd, meaning he is a prostrator. He is a man who prays. Muhammad is the object of the prayer. When you are praying towards God, God becomes Muhammad, means the one you're praying to. Muhammad means the object of adoration. So it's a very strange name. It's the name of God on him. But 6 months before he was born, his father was a merchant in the caravan of those days, died before the baby was born. He's born, I've read in the books that his mother didn't have enough milk. Those days, I don't know what English you call it, but there are women that they have more milk, and if some women do not have enough milk, the baby is breastfed by another woman. That was the case, with him. And it was 6 years before that his mother Amene died. His father's name is Abdu'l, means the servant of God. And Amene, his mother, also died 6 years after. So the boy, the child, was left to the grandfather, Abdu'l, who was the doorkeeper of the Kaaba, the big building. He was basically the doorkeeper, the guardian of the place, who also died after 2 years. There's a story about Kaaba. There was some man named Abraha, I don't know English, they call it Ascanites or whatever. He came with a lot of elephant, they say, to destroy Kaaba. But in the way as he was coming, he basically got into the desert or whatever. There's a chapter in Quran in that, and he died. He could not destroy the Kaaba. They said Abdu'l left his house and he took his camels on, and they told him that, well, what are you doing? He said, well, I'm taking care of my house. That's the house of God. He would take care of it, and he did. So, and as I said, Abdu'l, the grandfather, also died after 2 years. The baby was only 8 years old. Now is given to his uncle. This uncle is Abu Talib, and now Abu Talib, I think there were 6 brothers. It was Abu Talib, it was Abbas, it was Hamza, the youngest one, and his own father Abdu'l. And Abu Talib was the chief of the clan called Bani Hashim. And Bani Hashim is a clan of a greater tribe called Quraysh. They were all Quraysh, or Quraysh if you want to say it in English. And he started to become the guardian of the child. And as he was traveling, those days, he took the boy with him. I think grade 9. He was 9 years old or 12 years old. He went along with his uncle to be a merchant towards Syria. They were doing dealing with the merchant work, whatever, the caravan of those days between India and Mediterranean. They were doing, Mecca was a place a port for those things. So, and I guess in one of these times that he goes with uncle towards the Syria, he saw this Christian, Buhaira, or they say Bahira, I think it's Buhaira. When they questions him, it was very amazing. There are a lot of mythical things they say. For example, the cloud was going over the top of Muhammad as he was walking. So Buhaira was interested and asked a few questions, and he was looking for a promised one to show up. Those days they were waiting for this. There's not much more from his childhood except that he was famous among the Arab, this child, as they call him Amin and Sadiq. Amin means the honest, because he never lied. So Arab has a bad, notorious for calling people names. The guy's name is Ibn Awi, means the son of jackal, or snakes, or these kind of things. But not Muhammad. They call him Muhammad Amin, Muhammad the honest, because he never lied, this boy. It was different, you know. So from the very beginning of his childhood, it was clear. Now, he was a merchant himself, and there was this seriously rich, probably the richest person in the Arabia of those days, was a lady, Khadija, and she was a Christian, 40 years old. And he was working for Khadija, taking the caravans here. Khadija was interested in him. See, this man is different from any other man. The proposal of marriage happens. Pretty strange. The woman is 40 and the Prophet is only 25. But they apparently had excellent life. Those days it was easy to have many wives. That Muhammad did not marry any other woman while he was with Khadija. Khadija, of course, dies, and the entire wealth of Khadija came to Muhammad, which he spent entirely on the faith of Islam. He had nothing when he died, Muhammad. So, Muhammad never had a child, never had a son. They had son, he had son, I think Abdu'l, or kids, small kids, they all died, except for his daughter. One daughter, I've had a few daughters, one daughter called Fatima, which is one of the name of Holy Mary, in fact. Fatima was a very special woman. And Muhammad had lots of love for her. And eventually, she married Ali, which is the successor of Muhammad. So Khadija was the first woman to become a Muslim in Islam. Was a woman, the first Muslim. In fact, the first martyr also, Sumayya, she was also a woman. And the first man who believed in Islam at those days was Ali. Ali was 10 years old. So let me backtrack myself. I was talking that he was 25, he married Khadija. At this time, Khadija notices that Muhammad goes to a cave called Hira, H-I-R-A, Hira. I don't know, you can go to Saudi Arabia probably to see this place. It's some cave still is there. And in that place, the angel Gabriel came to him. Now, some of us, we think that, okay, this means probably he thought of something or ran it in his heart or whatnot. No. There was a real, seriously, physically, completely happened in there. That changed Muhammad completely and fully. He was astounded for many days. Then, when he came, told the story to Khadija. And that verse is in Quran. It says to him, Iqra, read. And Muhammad says, I do not know how. He says, Iqra bisma rabbuka, read in the name of your God. So, it took him to be 40 years. 40 years. That I've written the date was 615 years. At 615 years of Christian era, 7 years actually before he left Mecca to Medina, that he got these inspirations. So they had a problem in Mecca prior to that, they were all idol worshippers, of course, all the tribes, and they were doing some renovation on Kaaba. And there is a stone, it's called Hajarul Aswad, means the basically black stone. There's all kind of mythical things about it. But it had to be installed. And they were disputing over who put that on. This tribe says, we have more authority, we're more deserving than other guys. And they said, what do we do in between? Is there going to be a fight again over this, who puts that stone back? And Muhammad showed up. See how he was? He put, I think they say a rope, or he had something. He put it down, he said, okay, put that stone on this, all of you take it together. You don't need to fight over this. All of you take it. And Muhammad himself put that in place. It was all for unity and things like that. But there are a lot of stories about the attitude of Muhammad. Very strange stuff, really, that no one can, at this century, even right now, to be able to do it. And sometimes I deal with Arab today, in 20 minutes of talking to them, a man from Saudi Arabia or I don't know, somebody, they make me tired. They are so overpowering, overwhelming, big noises and big voices. You just want to give up and leave. How did Muhammad dealt with these people? They were seriously savages. Serious savages. Nobody in the earth was as bad as them. How did he deal with them? They say he was in his house and he was going. I read that in book when I was a child, that every time he passed from the house, somebody throwing garbage on his head. And Muhammad especially liked cleanliness, even brushing the teeth. Those days they were doing it in some special things they had, but the word is coming from there. Especially a nice smell and everything. He liked that. And then this clean individual comes out throwing garbage on his head. Muhammad never complained. He found a few days that there's nothing happening. He inquired, they said the person was a woman, is sick. And Muhammad goes, says, you have not been offering your grace to us anymore. I came to visit you. And she was so ashamed that turned into Islam, So there are a lot of these things. And these things, when you read Islam, the difference between Islam and Christianity, mainly that Islam is real stories. These are histories. There's not so much of a miracle as such that you think like Jesus Christ walked over the water or strange stuff. There are a lot of tangible things that you see. The sacrifice is very tangible, it's very social, it's very believable. So, we're continuing on my pages to see what happened. So, in the beginning, as I said, as he was at age 40, now, that he started Islam, but for 3 years, it was, the proclamation was not, it was kind of hidden in secret. It was a secret proclamation for 3 years in which a lot of good people became, Muslim, including a few bad ones. But then after 3 years, he declares it right there in Arabia, and the problem started immediately. The biggest problem was that in 619, just about 4 years after, which his uncle Abu Talib, as the chief of the tribe of Bani Hashim, was protective of him against the other Quraysh that didn't like what he says about the idols, about all of this. But Muhammad always said that there is God, you are the follower of Abraham. Those days they were called Hanifis. And why are you having these stones here? These are not God. Abraham got rid of them. Why are you taking it back? And they did not like that at all, that he's insulting their faith and religions. So it's 4 years. Unfortunately, both his wife and uncle, they died. So now he has no protections. And who has become the chief? Now Abu Lahab, a sheer enemy of Muhammad, has become the chief of the Bani Hashim and is not wanting to support Muhammad at all. They were about to kill him and he heard it. He heard the news, and it is said that in the house that he left Ali, his successor, his cousin, really, the son of Abu Talib, which would be his younger cousin. There were 30 years, I think, the difference between them. And he left Ali in the bed in his house, and he himself, take it with Abu Bakr, they went to Medina, the city, the other city, that used to be called Yasrib, but they call it now Medina, the city of Prophet. The people in the Medina, they were always in competition with people of Mecca over many things. And these tribes, they were just like, I don't know, I can compare it to the Indians in the North America, where they were a lot worse than that. But there were constant conflict between them, constant. So Muhammad goes into Medina, and people of Yasrib, to change it to Medina, they welcomed him. Mostly, maybe politically, they did not want anything to do with Mecca, and they wanted to show, that the one you didn't like, we like. But in Medina, a lot of problem with the Jews. Several times Jews conspired against him with different people of Mecca and other places to kill Muhammad, to destroy him. But they just failed and failed and failed and failed and didn't quit. Several times. The conflict starts from there. Maybe the Jews, they were in the idol worshipping business, and they were not idol worshippers, but they were selling these things or making this thing. They were and they saw this man is interfering with their business, and they didn't like it. They also did not accept him that you could be a prophet because you are not a lineage of the David, but he was the lineage of Abraham. But they didn't accept that, so they wouldn't. This was always the problem. So now Muhammad comes to Medina, has more power now, more Muslims. And the foe in the Mecca is not going to let go. Abu Sufyan is called. They decided to attack Muhammad, always. So Muhammad's work is mostly defensive. It's not offensive. So I think the first one was at 624, but 2 years after his declaration, after coming to Hijrat. So Hijrat means, let's say, we Baha'is use the word pioneering. He did pioneer, him and his followers, to Medina, the migration. That was the 622, and that's the beginning of the year of the Islam, because it was such a big event to happen there. All of a sudden, Muhammad is no longer into banishment and into force and into pressure. Now he actually started a constitution. And the first state, you could say, Islamic state, started in Medina. The first battle, the Battle of Muhammad, I think there's few of them, 10, 12 of them. They call Ghazwa. Ghazwa means fight, war. And one of them was, the first one was in Badr, where Muslims won 1 to 3 of the people of Mecca, and they defeated them very heavily. But the people in Mecca, they were not stopping this. They came around time. The next time in the Mount of Uhud, they had another encounter where Muslims, they could not win, so as them, kind of, nobody was a winner on that one. But the people of Mecca again decided to come, and this time we have at the Ghazwa of Khandaq. Now, Medina was a fortified city, but there were a lot of them. They say Salman, Muhammad was asking questions from everybody and to see what to do here. And Salman said, in Iran, we would take a trench around the city, so when they come in, they can't jump. I don't know if they fill it with water or not, but the trench was an obstacle. And because of that, they could not win again, and they went back. It comes, I think, at 630, when finally Muhammad takes, I think, 10,000 of his soldiers now. They go and enter the Mecca, and there was not too much of a resistance. He won over the Mecca, and everyone became Muslim, and he officially got rid of all the idols from Kaaba, and Kaaba became the house of Abraham and a place of the pilgrimage for all the Muslims. So this is what happened. And this was, I told you before, about what Moses talks about the Mount of Paran with 10,000 soldiers. That is what it was. It was fulfilled at that day. At this time, Muhammad is getting very old. Now, he's probably 59, 60 years old. And it is at 632, Christian, and about 23 years after his Hijrah and Islamic new date, new era, that Muhammad, what he doing his last pilgrimage, and in there, publicly in front of all of them, they took Imam Ali, which we call him Imam Ali, Ali his cousin, and took his hands up, and he said, "Man kuntu mawla fahaza aliyun mawla." Whoever I am, the master, the guardian, Ali is the guardian. And it was the same year that he basically had fever, just like an ordinary man. He got sick. He went to his wife, his young wife, Aisha, and he just died. And his body was buried in the same house. And that house right now is the center of the Mosque of Medina in Saudi Arabia. And all around it, they built a huge mosque. You can see that house, and where is the body of the Prophet is buried. There are a lot more to say. Of course, I can't, I have to speak thousands of hours. To talk about this. But this was a little glimpse of what happened. Islam generally was, I always say, if the religions are the windows that God brings up, every other time, every 1,000 years, definitely it's a better window than the Christianity, and there are reasons for that. For example, we can see seriously a social regime, a society, constitution, very physical, very tangible. Islam is not just a spiritual movement, it's a great social movement. It touches the everyday life of the people. Christianity has left this to the Roman, however they want to do it. In Islam, there's a pattern. You see, in Islam, there are much more books. If you take all the word spoken by Jesus Christ in the Bible and compare it to Quran, it would probably be a tenth of it. But even the Quran is not the word of Muhammad. He has adamantly separated it from his word. He said, "These are what Gabriel have told me, and it is not my word. It is the word Angel Gabriel." And we call it the word of Wahy, means the divine message. Now Muhammad, besides being a prophet, he's his own guardian as well. He's his own interpreter. In many occasions they ask him, what does that verse mean? And there is narration from Muhammad to say that. Sunnis have at least 6 books like Sahih, they call it exact. Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim. These two are exact, of Muslim, of Bukhari. But then there is Sunan, which means tradition, of Nasa'i, Sunan Abu Dawud, Sunan Nasa'i, Sunan Ibn Majah. So these 6 books are the Sunni books of the word of Muhammad apart from Quran. Separated from Quran. So even the Sunnis, if you put what Muhammad has said aside from Quran together, it becomes, God knows, 20 times bigger than the Bible. But Islam doesn't end with Muhammad. It's just beginning, as I said. So Islam follows with the successorship of 12 Imam, leaders, a spiritual leader after him. Every one of them have written and interpreted books. It becomes hundreds times bigger than the Bible. So we have a lot of informations, all divine, infallible. Mind you, except Quran, when we go to the tradition, there are different narrations. So to the point they have divided a knowledge, they call it knowledge of hadith, which means tradition, about 30 different types of hadith, because they differ from each other in many places, just like the Bible is. When it comes to the traditions, Muslims have the same problem as in the Bible. But not to the word of Muhammad, the word of God. That is only one copy, that's it. So this is one of the things that you can say simply, it's more evolved. The knowledge in Islam is very heavy. Muhammad says that it is an obligation for both men and women to acquire knowledge. So it's not like Christianity here. They have to learn. Learning is a part of being a Muslim. And that comes even to the women. Women have a great role to play in the Islam. As in Christianity we have, and Mary Magdalene, of course. But in Islam we have much more. Even the first martyr was a woman. The daughter of Muhammad, Fatima, is the central figure of the Shiite Muslims. And she's a woman. She's an immaculate role. The sister of Imam Hussein, Zainab, is the same thing. So was the other women. There were a lot of them. So Islam, though, I believe personally, for the first time, formally, it gives the right to the women. And like the stereotypes that in Christianity there is no right for women at all. Women are born out of men. Bible clearly says God has created man first and women second, therefore women has to obey man. Woman is not allowed to ask questions even in the church. They have to ask their husband at home. In this case, Aisha, the young wife of Muhammad, is a great narrator. She's got a lot of hadith and tradition that she has got. Shiites, they don't like her very much, but Sunnis, they call her Al-Mu'mineen, is the mother of the faithful. She was younger too, the daughter of Abu Bakr. Anyways, this was a little bit of Muhammad, but Muhammad died, as I said, at age 63. There came people from Rome to make sword for the Muslim, and they asked them, "Who's your leader?" They said, "Oh, that old man digging in a trench." And when they saw, they said, "This is your leader?" They said, "Yes." They saw Muhammad, an old man, getting the pick, and he's digging. And he has put a stone, flat stone on his belly. When you get too hungry, to put a stone on their belly. Muhammad was not eating very well, so he was hungry. And they were amazed. This swordman, look. That was his character again. He's nothing elusive It's very clear, very real. A lot of things about Muhammad is nice to know. But again, when we look at it in the eye of the beholder, anybody looks at this as, well, he was a great reformer, like Abraham Lincoln, like George Washington, like Gandhi, like Mandela. I mean, there have been a lot of great people like that. He didn't suffer particularly and tortured or died or killed. He was, after all, the leader of the society. Very similar to that of the Moses. So as soon as it dies, before even he got buried by Ali, which was his successor, they were already fighting among the companions who will be the leader. They were not going to attend his burial. This is what they were, those people. So Ali had to bury him. Not too many Muslims attended because they were disputing themselves over who's the successor. So Omar was a big one. He decided that the oldest one is Abu Bakr, so he has to be in charge. Well, many Muslims argued, just said that, well, just Ali and Muhammad said Ali is the guardian. They said, no, Mawla or guardian means friend. Means because Ali was in a lot of battles and he killed a lot of people and he had a lot of enemies. So Muhammad said that whoever I am friend, Ali is his friend. So that's what Sunnis, they say. Shiite, they say, no, it's not like this. The truth of the matter is that if you read the writing of Imam Ali, it's called Nahj al-Balagha and many other books, it's definitely on the computer. Any one of you can go and say the saying of Imam Ali. It's impossible to find anywhere in the planet some 1400 years anyone as wise, as great thinker as Imam Ali and his word. It's seriously greatest philosophy ever. Unmatchable, really, when it talks about God and everything else. It's so new. It never gets old, those words. So, of course, the original idea, this is where the problem is. So, Sunnis, they said, no. Ali is not, Abu Bakr is, and Abu Bakr died a few months after, and they got Omar. Omar also got for 11 years, and then it was Uthman, and he was a few years, and he was killed, and then finally Imam Ali came. Sunnis say these four. Abu Bakr, Omar, Uthman, and Ali, these are the four. They call him Khulafai Rashidin. Caliph means the governor, the great governors, the right governors, the righteous people. These four. Shiites, they say no, those three were all wrong. The Sunni says, okay, if Abu Bakr and Omar and Osman is bad, why didn't Ali fight with them? Why didn't he, use his followers to go against them? We have even in the Baha'i writing that Abdu'l says that in the beginning, when Muhammad took the hand of Ali and called him the guardian, even Omar said to Ali, Bakhan Bakha ya Ali, means wow, hurrah, great Ali, did you become the successor? But Abdu'l said he forgot later. So, right in the Baha'i Faith, he's guilty. What is he guilty of? When we look at in Islam, there is, just like in the Baha'i Faith, there is universal laws of justice and the universal laws of guardianship. The Baha'is today, including universal laws of justice, they don't accept the universal laws of guardianship as an institution that has to stay. They say it's over, died out. Islam was the same thing. There was caliphate, which means government chosen by people to run the system, and then there was velayat, which means guardianship. So Khalifa means the governor, while Wali means the guardian. They did not see these two have to run parallel to each other. As successors of Muhammad, with a reference to Ali, is that knowledge, that inspiration, that spiritual power is in him. And 11 people after him, 12. But Muhammad had a part that he was ruling over the society. He left that alone to the people. This is truly two parallel lines. If Shiite and Sunni today, like Iranians and people in Saudi Arabia, they go read their books properly, they can see that these two are not built and made to oppose each other. This is why Imam Ali did not oppose Osman, Abu Bakr and Omar, except few areas. Except few areas. And they listened to him. There are writings of Omar. He says, Lola Aliyun lahalakal Omar. If it was not for Ali, Omar would die. So he must have saved him several times, several places. But they were doing things that Ali, on behalf of God, would have given the people a freedom. For example, he would not participate in the wars that they had with Iran. As soon as Muhammad died, they started to say that, okay, we have a good united army. What do? We have to go and invade. They took Egypt, they attacked Syria, they go to the Roman Empire, the East Roman Empire. They came later on all the way to Spain, and they attacked Iran, and they just keep becoming a conqueror. Forgot the religion was not this. Ali did not participate in these things. None of the 12 Imam, that they were called Wali, which means guardian, just like Shobi Effendi in the Baha'i Faith is called Wali. They were also called Wali, the guardians. And they had the spiritual part to play and did not participate in these things. So Ali, in his time, went prepared Quran and got the things together. I think the first Quran was all put together by him because there was no written Quran. He had to do all of those things, which at the time of third Caliph put together. Ali was a part of all of that. This is why we say Quran is the right book, because Ali has accepted it and all the Imams. But he would not participate in these things. However, when people asked him to become a Khalifa, Ali accepted it. So at this point, Ali was Wali, but also became a Khalifa. I think he wanted to set a precedent of what a right government should be. But they didn't give him a chance. Because the first three Khalifa, they did not consult with him. They did not listen to him well. Instead of creating spiritual people, they were creating armies and soldiers. And these people were conquerors. They did not look spiritual at all. One of the things the third Khalifa, which is Osman, did, he had his cousin, I think, Muawiyah, who was the son of Abu Sufyan, who was the number one foe of Muhammad. And Muawiyah remembered his father fighting with Muhammad all the time. Always had this grudge in his head. Now he said, I'm Muslim. He became Muslim. He became the governor of Syria. As soon as Ali comes into power, he told him, no, I'm not believing in you. You are staying where you are in Arabia, but Syria is mine. Well, Syria was a province, really, those days. Ali said, no, you're dividing the Islam and this cannot be. Stop this. But Muawiyah wouldn't listen. Ali goes there in a battle to get him out. He had this Wazir or counselor, Muawiyah. His name is Amras. So Amras, they saw Muslims, the army of Ali is too many. They said, what do? We're going to get defeated. They took the Quran on the top of this big dart up and said, hey, we're Muslim, don't fight with us. So the army of Ali didn't know what to do. They said, well, we're out there to fight the non-Muslims. These are Muslims. So there was a division right there. They didn't know what to do. So Amras, then they decided, they said, okay, so why don't we have two judges to decide about this? They had Amras on behalf of Muawiyah, and I cannot think of the other one right now off my head, and I didn't write it down. But I might remember it later. This other guy was on behalf of the Ali to negotiate. So these two guys, they go and negotiate on behalf of Ali and Muawiyah. Amr al-As is famous for conniving. He said to this representative of Ali, he said, brother, we can't choose any of these. If we choose Muawiyah, follower of Ali don't accept it, we accept Ali, they don't. Why don't we go to the public and say none of them is? And let the people elect a new one. This fellow was a simple guy, I guess. He said, okay, maybe you're right. Amr al-As told him, okay, go announce it. So he comes and says, okay, as for the judge, a referee, I'm going to say that Ali is not the Khalifa on his part. Now the turn comes to Amr al-As that he has to come and say Muawiyah is not Khalifa. Amr al-As came and said, he said on behalf of Ali that Ali is not a Khalifa. But I say Muawiyah is Khalifa. My God, then the guy found out that Amr al-As cheated him. He publicly took the word out of his mouth. So, trickery, eh? The matter became big. Ali had to return back. A lot of people, they disagreed with him that you are not, fighting the way you should. And he's having prayer on the mosque. And Ibn Muljam, they call him. He came and knifed Ali and killed Ali while he was praying. And Ali was again a symbol of their spirituality. In one of the battles they had with Muhammad, I remember this, it's called Ghazwa Khaybar. They had a big guy like Goliath to come. Before Muslim, they go into the fight. Usually the big guys from each side, the two big soldiers, the two big gallant from the both sides, they come down here and they start, at each other so they may fight, and if one of them wins, maybe the war is over. They brought this big guy, I think his name is Amr ibn Abdu'l, he's a big guy. And Ali was shorter. So Ali had nothing, couldn't reach his top of this guy, was big. So cut him through his leg and he fell down. So Ali went to kill him. I think he spit on the face of Ali. And Ali turned back. Muslim, kill him, kill him. But Ali is not going to do that. He washed his face and cleansed it, and then went back and finished him and killed him. They told him, why didn't you do it first time? He said, he spit at my face, and I got angry. I didn't want to kill him out of anger. I killed him as a punishment on behalf of the order of the Prophet of God. I'm not a killer. I'm just carrying the order. But he made me angry. I couldn't do it out of anger. I had to forgive him for what he did to me first, and then carry the order. That was the attitude of Ali. Famous for helping people. So many people he would help. They didn't know it is him at all. He was the father of all the orphans, all the poor ones. He would help the woman go over to her home as a Khalifa, but he was changing his clothes and everything, so they didn't know that. And she was swearing at Ali, and Ali would never object to her. And one day somebody said, lady, do you know who he was? He said, oh yeah, this guy's helping me all the time. He said, this is the Khalifa, the Ali. She was astounded to know. He said, my God, I have been swearing at him all along these years. He never even said a word. See the forbearance of Ali. So Islam is not what bin Laden is trying to picture, or Ayatollah Khomeini in Iran. These are the leftovers of something great. These are the material of the black hole. Once a great sun shining that turned in the course of time to a black hole. These are the material of the black hole. Religions of today, especially Islam, is an absolutely poisonous thing. It's just like the food that is outside of the fridge. It's outdated. The moment you touch it and eat it, you become poisonous. It becomes poisonous, you eat it, you die. Spiritually, mentally. I've seen the same case, by the way, in the Christianity. Have you heard, sit down seriously to listen to a Jehovah's Witness and what they stand for? Or some of these others, like a Reverend Hag, I call him Haig in Texas. An absolutely lunatic. Because they're attaching themselves to food that's old, that's outdated. It's outside of the time. You can't teach it. It's black hole. It's no longer a sun. It's darkness. This is why Bin Laden is like that. That just does not see anything any other way. They don't see it. Anyways, after Ali died, his son Hassan comes into power. Hassan saw the Muslims are same way as they were towards his dad. When it comes to Muslims, Arab, they don't know what to do. Non-Muslim, they fight. But when it comes to fight between the Muslims, they don't know how to handle it. Hassan saw it is not going to work. They are not ready. They've lost it, these guys. If they really, truly believed, I am a successor of my father and I'm from God, they would follow, but they were not ready. So he had to, for the sake of a lot of massacres that would have happened between two equal forces, he let go. Because they were a spiritual leader, but they wanted to get the society in a better social order, but they lost it. Then his brother Hussein comes. Now Hussein is huge. All of the Imams are, but the responsibility of Hussein was very huge, very big. I've mentioned this before. So, after Hassan died, he was in Medina. Kufa is a city way over in Iraq in the north. They asked him to come for help or this or that. Hussein comes with his people there. And he was trapped. They told him, well, you can't go back now. The new Khalifa, which is, by the way, that Armageddon, that beast from the hell with the 666, that is the day, that's the time. Imam Ali died, I think, in 661, not yet 666. Ali died by the same beast. But Hussein, they told him he can't go back. He said, listen, I have no fight with you. I want to go to Medina. They told him, no. In public, you have to sign that you're not an imam, you're not a Khalifa, you are nobody, you're just a citizen. And Khalifa is Yazid. By now, this Yazid, he was an actual alcoholic, drinker, a womanizer, totally living like the Romans. He was grown up with the Roman culture. He would not accept any of this thing. He said, okay, they brought it, good, now they believe in it, but I don't. But he called himself, the Caliph of the Muslims. That is the son of Muawiyah, Yazid, and decided to change Imam Hussein. Imam Hussein said, no, I cannot do that. But if you let me go, I will go. They told him, no, you can't. This is if you're seeing in TV where the Muslim, they hit themselves and are mourning to the Imam Hussein. For 10 days, they surrounded him, forced him, surrounded by thousands and thousands. Hussein had 700 people in the beginning. And he said that this is not the battle of my father. Here, I'm going to die, all of us. So I want those who want to leave. in the night. Those who want to stay put their head down, so those who want to leave, they don't feel ashamed or embarrassed. And when everybody left, it was only 70 people, 72 people, they say. Again, Hussein said, you all go. They want me. Even he said to his brother Abbas, you can't even leave. They say, an old man, his name was Muslim ibn Osajeh, he was so old, standing on his cane. He said, Hussein, I would rather die for you and give back the life, and again I will die for you. And if they offer life back again, and I will come and again die for you. And I will die again and again and again and again. These guys were serious. And as he didn't know that. So, one by one, in the battle of 1-to-1, all of them, they were just one by one killed. They were killing them one by one. To finally Hussein bent down. His son, 21 years old, died. His brother's son, the children of Imam Hassan, died. Oh, his brothers, 5 of his brothers died. Abbas, which was my name and the name of his brother. You ought to read this thing. There is nothing bigger than that in the history of mankind, except for those of the Baha'i Faith. But before that, believe me, my friend, there's nothing in the world that I, as a philosopher, read can equal to these great epics, such a real things happening in the life history of mankind, as it was the battle of Imam Hussein with the infidels. I've said this before again. He went, took his little child for water, and they put the spear in the throat of the child, and the child died, and Hussein took the child to the heaven and said, God, forgive them. They do not know who I am. Forgive them, God. They said God would have destroyed the planet for what happened to Hussein that day. But Hussein stopped God. He says, no, don't, not for my sake. Leave them. At this time, Iran was attacked by the Muslims at the time of Omar. Probably 1 million. Women all raped, men killed and taken, slavery sold all around the world. And Muslim, Iranians were scared so much of Muslim, of Allah and everything. The last thing in their mind would have been that they would accept Islam wholeheartedly. Nobody would. No one of a sound mind would. There were many attempts to get rid of them. You read in the history, many of them, they couldn't have. But finally, Abu Muslim, when this happened, the entire Iranian community was shocked to know this has happened to Hussein by the Arab. They killed the grandson of the Prophet only because he didn't accept Yazid. And he wanted to leave. And they killed him in such a way, such a horrendous way, one by one. And finally they beheaded him. And imagine what happened to his 3 years old, 5 years old daughter, his sister, and all the women left behind. They were all raped and killed. Amazing story. So Iranian, they were really influenced by this. And they said, that is the Islam we accept. Because the story of Hussein is similar to us. Iranians, for the first time, they become Muslim, really. But not Sunni, traditionalist. They said, we like this one. A Sunni means a follower of tradition. Sunni means tradition. Sunnat means tradition. Sunni means a follower of tradition. Shia means follower, who follows the Wali. So, naturally, at that time, there are different Imams. The son of Imam Hussein, Imam Hussein himself, I think, married a Persian woman, Shahr Banu. So his son was 50% already Iranian. And then the 5th Imam, Muhammad Baqir, is the same story. who was great in the knowledge. It's called Baghir, means he was just exploring the knowledge. Then after him his son Imam Sadiq, Ja'far Sadiq, Ja'far the Truthful, who has written many books, great books. Ooh. Then his son is Moses, or Musa the Kazem. Every one of them had a title. Kazem is the one who takes the anger and controlling anger. He would not get angry. Then we have his son. It's called Imam Reza, who actually came all the way from Arabia down to Iran. And he died in Iran. And a place is there who speaks Persian very well. Many of these imams had Persian wives. And then after him is his son, Muhammad the Taghi. Taghi means the pious. Many of them were young and died. And the 10th one is Ali the Naqi, which means the pure. Very, very pure. And he had a son named Hassan the Askari. Hassan the Askari is the 11th one. Askar means army. Why do they call him army? Because it was prophesied a son will be born out of him, who is the promised one. His name in the West, you call him as Mahdi. Have you heard of Mahdi army in Iraq? It's not really Mahdi, it's Mehdi or Mahdi. Okay, Mehdi. You say Mahdi. The divine guide, that's what Mehdi means. That his son will come and bring justice. They were afraid of him and they put him right into the army regiment. That if anything born, they kill him right away. But God had a different plan. So, this is something that I have to speak to you next time about the promised one of Islam and the prophecies of Islam about the future faith and the essential very classical, essential belief in Islam about God, about Muhammad to be the last of the Prophet, about Mehdi and other time. That we will do hopefully tomorrow, if I'm alive still. See you, Allah Pak, God be with you.